The Smith family had been eagerly anticipating their camping trip for months. They got an RV and were happy to explore the secluded mountains away from the hustle and bustle of the city. They packed all the necessary equipment, including camping gear, food, and a portable generator to power the RV. The first days were idyllic, with clear skies and stunning views. They spent their days hiking, fishing, and exploring the area, and their nights around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing ghost stories. However, as time passed, mysterious sounds began to disturb their nights. At first, they dismissed it as the wind or the local wildlife. Then they ignored it and went to bed. However, on the final night of their adventure, a deep, menacing roar pierced the air, sounding dangerously close. It was a sound unlike anything they had heard before. The family huddled together in the RV, paralyzed with fear. They heard branches breaking and a heavy presence moving outside. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes appeared outside the window, large, yellow, and downright terrifying. The family realized that they were not alone, and that whatever was lurking outside was not a familiar creature. Father Michael tried to start the RV's generator to escape, but he refused to cooperate. Stranded in the middle of nowhere, in the dead of night, with an unknown entity outside, panic sets in. The mother, Emily, suggested waiting until daylight, but Michael knew they couldn't afford that. They needed to act quickly. Michael grabbed his flashlight and improvised weapon, ordering the family to stay inside while he investigated. Upon exiting the RV, he encountered a mountain lion. It stands at least 6 feet high on its hind legs, sniffing air. Michael aimed his makeshift weapon and made a sound, but the mountain lion did not flinch. She fixed her yellow eyes on him, let out a loud roar, and charged. Michael retreated to the RV and closed the door. The mountain lion hit the RV so hard that it shook. The family screamed and cried, but Michael urged them to remain calm and still, knowing that the creature was attracted to noise and movement. In silence, they waited for what seemed like an eternity until the mountain lion, frustrated, retreated into the forest. After a few cautious minutes, Michael opened the door to a vacant space outside. The family hurriedly packed their belongings and left. Shaken but alive, they vowed never to return to those mountains, never to speak of that horrific night again. Upon returning home, the Smith family carried with them the profound impact of the experience. They realized their vulnerability to nature and the importance of preparing for the unexpected. The encounter taught them to respect wildlife and recognize its power. From that moment on, the family embraced a new appreciation for the outdoors and an understanding of its beauty and potential dangers. They remain grateful to have survived the encounter with the mountain lion, forever changed by the terror and horror of the wilderness. Don't miss out on the bone-chilling thrills. Subscribe now and prepare to be haunted by the horrors that await. It all happened when my partner and I, along with our loyal dog Max, found ourselves living in an old camper van. Times were tough, and we couldn't afford rent, so we made do with what we had. My partner had just lost his job in the bustling city of Summitville, and my job was not enough to keep up with the bills and rent. This is when we remembered my sister had a friend who lived in a camper van. He had told us how it was cheap to live, and you had a feeling of freedom. We started to look into it online and had two options. We either built one or bought one. We didn't have a lot of money at the time, and building one would take ages, and none of us had any experience with building vans or anything really. We found an old camper van online and went to pick it up in the town of Pineville. It had some rust, which we would need to address later on. The inside needed a deep clean, and certain things needed fixing, but this could be done over time. We gave up our apartment the same day we brought the camper van and immersed ourselves in van life straight away. It took some getting used to, but we needed to. So, here we were, settling into living in the van. We developed a routine, parking in secluded areas where we could let Max roam without disturbing others. It was peaceful for the most part, but one night, everything took a horrifying turn. We were parked on a quiet road near the edge of a dense forest, just chilling inside the camper and watching some TV. It was late, and Max started pacing by the door, a signal he needed to go outside. We were comfy, but knew we had to get up, stepping out with him and standing by the door, waiting. Suddenly, we heard his frantic barks echoing from deep within the woods. Concerned, we grabbed our flashlights and followed the sound. The forest enveloped us in darkness and an eerie silence in the air, pure cryptic. But the thought of our beloved dog and Denker propelled us forward. Maybe an animal was close by, we thought, as we ventured further. The barks grew louder, we quickened our pace, heartbeats pounding in our chests, and then we heard it, a shot, then a yell. We raced towards the source of the sound. In a small clearing, we stumbled upon a horrifying sight. 3 men shrouded in darkness were digging a hole. Beside them lay several large bags. Panic surged through us as the realization of what we had stumbled upon sank in. Next to them was Max, lying still on the ground. They hadn't spotted us yet, so we turned our flashlights off. They picked Max up and threw him in the hole. This confirmed what we thought, so we quietly retreated. But we saw 2 of the men walking towards where we were. They must have realized someone was close by and would be looking for their dog. We managed to get back to the safety of our camper van. We huddled together, grappling with the shock of what we had witnessed. Questions raced through our minds. What were those men doing? What was in those bags? Why would they do that to Max? We phoned the police and gave our location. They told us to drive away to a safer location. We got in the front, ready to drive off when we heard tapping on the van. My partner started the van and put his foot on the gas, driving off as fast as we could. We managed to get to a small 24-hour diner in the town of Lakeside and phoned the police back to let them know where we were. We stayed in that diner for the whole night. In the morning, a police officer came to tell us the men had gone when they arrived, but they had dug the semi-filled hole to discover 2 bodies, one being our beloved Max, the other being a man in his late 40s. To this day, they have never been caught. We can't help but wonder if we didn't get away, would we have been in that hole with them? A few years back, just before the onset of the new year, I made plans to spend the night at a coastal retreat with 2 close friends. I arrived a bit later, finding the beach already alive with the warmth of a crackling bonfire. As we enjoyed some refreshing drinks around 11 p.m., an RV pulled up and parked adjacent to us. To set the scene, we were stationed about 100 yards from the entrance to our beach spot. A family, comprising a man, a woman, and their 2 kids, emerged from the RV and strolled over to our bonfire. They politely inquired if they could join us, and without much thought, we welcomed them. Though I maintained a cautious demeanor, to spare the intricacies, as the night unfolded, the man revealed he hailed from a place called Novaria. My memory was jogged about a past incident involving an American girl named Olivia Johnson who disappeared during a vacation, a recollection triggered by a movie from the early 2000s. I shared this, and the man's demeanor underwent a stark shift. He identified himself as Mr. Crimson, recounting his connection to Olivia's disappearance and claiming that he was once a person of interest. According to him, he used to operate a photography business in the coastal town of Maruba. He grew increasingly agitated as he spoke about the suspicions surrounding him, describing how family and friends had distanced themselves. The turning point for me came when he casually mentioned that, even if he had been involved in Olivia's case, he believed he would have been forgiven by a higher power. Alarmed, I found myself on edge, especially considering his previous discussions about his passion for photography and filmmaking. To add to the strange vibes, he suggested that my friends and I could share his RV with his wife, while he slept elsewhere with the kids. The following day, the man threw a massive beach party, drawing a considerable crowd. It was billed as his revelation celebration, where he openly confessed his purported involvement in Olivia's case. Troubled by this revelation, I promptly reported the incident to the local authorities. Stretched before us was a ribbon of endless possibilities as our family embarked on a long-awaited road trip. The sun bathed the landscape in warm hues, casting a golden glow over the expansive farmlands. Laughter filled the air as we cruised along, our spirits high with anticipation. After a day of driving, we finally arrived at a tranquil rest area nestled amidst rolling hills. The site exuded a sense of peace, its well-kept grounds and modern facilities promising a serene night's rest. Eagerly, we parked our vehicle and set up camp, reveling in the simple pleasures of outdoor living. As dusk descended, a hush settled over the rest area, save for the distant chirping of crickets. The cool evening air wrapped around us, and the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky. It seemed like the perfect night to unwind and soak in the beauty of our surroundings. But as the hours wore on, a discordant note infiltrated the tranquility. Faintly at first, we could hear the distant sound of Rauku's laughter and clinking bottles. Curiosity mingled with annoyance as we peered out of our windows to locate the source of the disturbance. A few spaces away, a group of people had gathered, their laughter echoing through the stillness of the night. They appeared carefree, oblivious to the late hour and the impact their revelry had on the peace of the rest area. Reluctantly, my partner took it upon themselves to approach them, seeking a resolution to restore the tranquility we craved. As they made their way towards their site, my heart clenched with a sense of foreboding. The laughter suddenly felt louder, the atmosphere charged with an electric tension. I watched a knot of unease forming in the pit of my stomach as my partner engaged in conversation with the group. But as their eyes met, a chill crept up my spine. Their smiles seemed forced, their eyes devoid of warmth or genuine mirth. The laughter that had initially seemed harmless now took on an eerie quality, an unnerving soundtrack to an unfolding nightmare. A sudden hush fell over the group. Their eyes locked onto my partner with an intensity that made my blood run cold. Their attempts to reason with them were met with silence, the air thick with an unspoken threat. Panic surged within me as I watched them. The lines of worry etched deep into their face. A voice laced with menace shattered the stillness. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed, barely audible yet laden with a chilling promise. A shiver ran down my spine, and a surge of adrenaline coursed through my veins. The innocence of our family road trip had been shattered, replaced by a nightmarish encounter that defied all logic. Frantically, my partner retreated, a sense of urgency propelling them back towards our vehicle. As they reached our door, a bone-chilling sight greeted us, confirming the sinister intentions of the group. They had followed them, their eyes glinting with malice as they closed in on us. With trembling hands, we locked the door, our once cozy sanctuary, now a fortress against an unseen enemy. Outside, the air crackled with menace, their presence a looming threat that engulfed us in suffocating fear. We huddled together, the weight of uncertainty pressing upon us. The night wore on, each passing minute a torturous reminder of our vulnerability. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering secrets of danger and betrayal. We clung to one another, our hearts pounding in unison, desperate for dawn to break and release us from this waking nightmare. But salvation did not come with the rising sun. Instead, we found ourselves caught in a cat-and-mouse game, our every move met with a calculated response. They circled our vehicle, taunting us with their presence, their actions, fueled by a twisted pleasure in our fear. Hours melded into an eternity as we cowered within the confines of our refuge. Our pleas for help went unanswered, lost in the vastness of the night. Fear became our constant companion, threatening to consume us. At the peak of our desperation, a sudden stillness settled over the rest area. The laughter ceased, and the air grew heavy with an eerie silence. Uncertain, we exchanged wary glances, our breaths held in anticipation of what would come next. Then, like a storm unleashed, they attacked. Their pounding fists rattled the windows, their voices filled with the cacophony of malice. We braced ourselves against the onslaught, our defenses strained to the breaking point. Just as hope began to dwindle, a flicker of resilience ignited within us. We fought back, using every ounce of strength and determination to repel our assailants. The struggle was fierce, an intense battle between survival and surrender. In the end, it was our sheer will to live that prevailed. The light of day finally broke through the darkness, revealing a rest area tainted by the memory of the horrors we had endured. The group of strangers vanished, leaving only the lingering echoes of their malevolence. As we packed up, our shattered sense of security, a solemn understanding settled upon us. The world held depths of darkness that we had not dared to imagine, and the boundaries between safety and danger were not as clear-cut as we once believed. Our family road trip had forever been marred by the chilling encounter, a constant reminder that evil can lurk even in the most serene of places. The memories of that night would haunt us, etching their mark upon our souls and forever altering our perception of the world. In the aftermath, we sought solace in one another, our bonds strengthened by the shared trauma. We vowed to protect each other, to cherish every moment, and to never let our guard down in the face of the unknown.